Hey guys, I have a huge update. Just wanted to show this mainly for Chris, but also explain what all this stuff I'm adding is. So I've got this update I started on at the end of last month. And what started it was I wanted to make an auto run so that when guests are over, it could just play through a bunch of top 10 games and then go through without any hyperspin or anything else. Well, that kind of snowballed into some other stuff, but first off, this update, I updated to a new version of VLC Portable, which is on the drive. That's less buggy and a little bit faster too, but I also added in a new program called Desktop Hut, and it's a free app that's pretty cool. And what this does is you run this small program, minimize it, and let's see here. It plays whatever background video you want over your desktop. So I'm going to hide these icons so you can see it a little bit better. Well, here's one of the first scripts I started. I made a video background randomizer, and what this does is I'm going to set this to 1 minute. So as I'm talking through everything, you can see an example of how this works. So you pick any directory with a bunch of videos, and it defaults to Arcade Media Main Menu Video. This has every system video. And the cool thing about this is going to go through every minute and change your background. So mine is really messy. But this is just to show you. You can still click on everything, you can open stuff, you can do all types of stuff. For example, that's just a text file I was opening up. So you're going to see this change in the background as I'm explaining the rest of this. I've got two screens too, so that's why this looks kind of goofy. So this was one of the new additions I added. I rewrote some of the swappers that work a little bit faster now, so that should help. I've also added in a few other things. So HyperXML was updated, and you'll notice some of these files in here were changed. Basically what I did was I wanted to make something that shows this desktop of whatever game you're playing. Oh, and the cool thing about that is it plays it puts a black screen over while it's switching desktop videos, so you don't really see it go back to your regular desktop. Which is one of the features I built into the screensaver randomizer. Well, Donald gave me a trick that in Rocket Launcher there's a spot to insert your own code. And what I did was I ran a couple of command lines that all this does is it gets the name of whatever game system you're in and plays that video on both your screens. So if you have a two-screen setup, you can enable this. All it's doing is basically changing the file name from global.ahk to global-with background. So I'm swapping out files. Does not delete anything, doesn't hurt anything. But what it does now is if you turn that option on and you're not seeing anything on your second monitor, and my second monitor is just a little USB monitor, so you'll see it freeze up on like polygons and stuff like that. Here comes the next video. You'll see it start working again. So this one is Space Invaders. Anyway, what that does is whatever game system you load through Rocket Launcher, it doesn't even need to be through Hyperspin. You can launch it automatically, and I've got some test ones here. It's going to actually change this to whatever game system I'm on. So let me exit out of this. And oh, there it is. It was hiding on me. Got too many monitors up. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to automatically launch some test games and show you. Now watch this second monitor when I launch these games over here. So first up, I'm just going to do old school Street Fighter. You can see Street Fighter load over here. And then on the second screen you should see the video for MAME, since it's a MAME game. So here we go, it's loading up. I got a bunch of stuff running, so yeah, I got this video is killing my processing. So right here I got the game loaded, and then you'll see MAME video in the background start playing over here. As a matter of fact, I don't even think it's gonna work because I've got too much running. Yeah. So anyway, that's one of the things it does. So on the second screen you would normally see the video, but I don't think it's going to play with the stuff that I've got running. So another thing that I updated was I added in, let's see here, the front end. I added in videos, and I added in a randomizer. I'll show that later. I added in the new version of HyperXML. They've done some really good stuff on this HyperXML. As a matter of fact, I'll jump in there in a minute and show you that. But then I also added in hyperspeech. And what this does is it uses the name LED Blinky, and I'll explain that in a minute. But it speaks everything to you. So basically, when you load up or when you exit, it's going to do that. Now those are the things I added. Now here's the main section I've been working on, is toggles. And I've made it so that you can turn on or off hyperspeech, intro videos, and you can also randomize intro videos. I've got about a dozen different randomized 30-second hyperspin intros, and you'll see it when I load up what it does. I also made a script that this one's pretty cool. This asks you if you want to have the wheel sounds in hyperspin. Now normally you would have to go to HyperHQ, and you would go into each wheel, and then you would have to click on sound, or no, where is it? Oh, here we go. Here's why that other one, hyperspeech, was called LED Blinky. LED Blinky. LED Blinky is the one program Hyperspin runs every time something happens. So that's what this is for. Hyperspeech also will launch LED Blinky, but you need it to have Hyperspin go first if you enable that. Now there is this startup program here. This only does it one time when you start up, so it wouldn't change whenever you enter a wheel or start a game or anything else. So that's why it does that. I'm going to go into a wheel now and show you. So these intro videos are enabled. You can press a key at any time to turn them off. And wheel settings, let me show for MAME. So I'd go in here, go to sounds, and enable wheel game sounds. And wheel clicks, those aren't obnoxious, I leave those on, but some of these wheel clicks, you start scrolling fast and you hear fireballs and yells and screams, and one of them's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If that one plays out of the random, it's like a 2-minute long video or audio file. So I like to turn these off for the most part, except for a handful of special games. What this does is this goes into your settings files and just changes it from true to false. Now it's going to ask you a few questions. The first thing it asks you if you want to turn it on or off. If you turn it off, it asks you if you want to leave the wheel clicks on. Once you do that, it also gives you one other option. Was I went in and I made a bunch of copies of sounds already on the drive for the different system wheels. And all of these wheels have their own special sounds. So Pac-Man makes the noise when he chomps a pellet. Zelda makes the coin noise. Mega Man makes the jump noise, that little boop boop. And then Ghost and Goblins makes the noise when he shoots his one of the ghosts. Sonic and Mario make their respective coin noises. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I think, says Cowabunga. So each one of those collection wheels would be individually enabled while everything else is off. So it'll do wheel clicks for everything else except for these special games if you turn that on. Or you could just turn everything off, or you could turn everything back on. So all it is a really simple questionnaire. Works great. Second screen background, this is that one that I mentioned earlier. Oh, actually, you know what, I don't think I turned it on last time, so I'm going to show you this right now. So this enables a second background. Would you like to enable it? You can either cancel and it just exits without doing any changes, or you can disable it, which it's off right now. I'm going to turn it on right now. It was in standard mode, now it's got the background video. So now when I do this, this might have been why it didn't launch earlier. I think I forgot to have this enabled the last time I exited it. So now that Street Fighter's gonna load over here, oh, Street Fighter keeps loading on the wrong side. Here we go. So it's playing MAME video in the background. It's just showing up as a black screen, and it's too much with this recording software. It's not going to really show much, so I'm having trouble getting that to come across on this video. I don't think you guys are going to see it. Yeah, it's still, oh boy, really slow launching with everything recording. So anyway, what that was doing was that was playing this MAME video in the background while I was playing Street Fighter, and I could do it for NES, for any game system. It automatically figures out which system you're doing, and then does that. So going back into where did I go? Where'd my updates go? Oh, there we go. I guess I closed it out when I did that. So anyway, that turns on that user screen, so it's on right now. I can hit yes again. It knows, and it doesn't screw anything up, even if you make a mistake and re-enable something when it's already created. Video background randomizer, that's the one that changes that screensaver every minute in the background. And then finally, here's the main thing I was working on, was Top 10 Creator. So I built this script, which took me a long time to figure out the best way to do this. But what this does is this is going to spit out an AHK file, which you can run as an exe file on the drive. And the cool part about this is you choose a system here. So for example, MAME. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to System ROMs, and I'm going to take some ROMs and drop them into these sections. Now, for now, I'm just going to hide these videos, and I'm going to take, let's see, let's make a Street Fighter. I'm going to make a Street Fighter launcher. Now, the order that I click these on is the order it's going to save it. So Street Fighter, Street Fighter 2, let's go to Street Fighter 3, Street Fighter Alpha, there we go, Street Fighter 3. Now I'm going to go back and do a bunch of these. So we'll do, you know, Street Fighter 2 Japan, Street Fighter Alpha, Street Fighter Alpha 2, Street Fighter Alpha 3, and then Street Fighter 3 number 2 there, or number 3. So I just selected those games. I'm going to drag them in here anywhere in this window, and Street Fighter 3 was the last one I chose. Then Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter Alpha. So it just loaded all these games, and then let's pick 2 more just to make a full 10. Alright, so it made all these games, and then you can go in here and you could type in a bunch of info. Now you could put the game info on here. Usually you could find this in the history file to enter the game info. Now this right here kind of explains what you can do. You can find where you can find the names and how this whole thing works. So if you forget any of this video, that's what that does. Now another cool feature of this is you could pick a video right here, and you can run the video once before you do all these, and you can use different systems too. So you could do like Alpha TV game here and then everything below it, or switch it here, but these are all MAME, so I'm going to leave them as MAME. you can put a video in here. And what this does is if you enter a time in seconds, start and end, or you can just do it run once and these disappear, it'll play a video before this list of games and then launch each game individually. Or the cool part is if you go into here and take the time to figure out, what I did was I went to some top 10 lists, and they talk about the 10 worst NES games ever. Well, I pick out the section for number 9, and that might be 66 seconds to let's say 75 seconds. So it's in one sentence he talked about it. What this will do is it'll play Street Fighter 3. When you hit exit, it'll automatically play the video from this time to this time, introducing that section of that game, and then you play that game. Now when you do this, you hit create my list, and forgot to do that. So it creates a list. I forgot to put the video in there, but here's a list that I made, and I'm going to launch this now and show you how these work. So this one is Angry Video Game Nerd. It's going to put a background right here. It's going to put it on the second screen too, which it's not showing up because I'm recording, and it's going to play the video. Now I chose to play the video all the way through the first time. You get to the end of the video, and then it's going to launch the game. And this is the description of the game. Number 10 worst game of all time they chose was Sunday Funday, and I think it's already running in the background. So then what I do is if you hit escape after playing that game, oh man, rocket launcher is running way too slow for me to do this while recording. I don't think I could do both at the same time. So anyway, what it does was it pops up the game, and this will show up on both screens and play the game, and then automatically show the video for the number 9. And then it plays the number 9. Then when you escape out of there, it shows the number 8 section of the video, then number 8. So it goes through, and it's a cool way to have something that when you have guests over or kids over that you don't want them messing around in your menus and your systems, you just run this one file. We can add it to wheels. We can just run it standalone without even opening Hyperspin, and it automatically does everything. So I think I'm going to have to Control-Alt-Delete because this shit just ain't working at all. With the video recording is taking up way too much memory. So and that, oh, now it goes and plays the so here it goes as it's playing the next video, and at any time you can stop the whole thing by hitting 3 and then 1, which is basically on your controller hitting start and then coin. So that gets you out of there. So that's one, and then I made another one without a video. This one's Angry Video Game Nerd, his top 10 worst NES, and this one's Metal Jesus Rocks 10 Hidden Gems MAME. So this is just an idea of some of the different top 10 lists, and you don't have to be technical to do this. You could just run this oops, wrong thing I ran. You could just run this script creator, create a script, and then share it with the rest of the group. Any of the ROMs, just make sure you select the system, at least the first one, or if you're doing a multi-system wheel, make sure you select the system for each game. You don't have to do video, you can just do no video, name your list, and it'll spit out a file. So works really well. Let's see here, I'm just going to do that Street Fighter 10 item selected, drop them here, dropped it in order, and then no info on any of these, and hit create my list. It has all these, it knows their MAME, it doesn't have any times because we're not watching videos, and don't want to create another list. And now I've got my list of Street Fighter games. Now what this does is it actually writes all the code basically like I did for all those other ones manually. I copied them out. So if I were to run this, it's way too slow right now, but it would have launched all these games in order. So it works really good. It's a pretty fun update. And then again, all these other switches. Let me show you now really quickly Hyperspin with Hyperspeech and the intro videos. What I'm going to do is I'm going to enable videos, and then I'm going to randomize them. So now when I launch Hyperspin, it's going to have a different video intro each time. You're going to hear a voice as I do stuff, but you're also going to see a different video each time I load this.
Speech synthesizer online.
So this one is Street Fighter.
Loading main wheel. Main is an excellent choice.
So you can hear Hyperspeech. It's saying all the different games.
Iron Fortress. Iron Man Yvonne Stewart Super Off-Road.
It also doesn't read stuff in parentheses, so you don't hear the prototype, you don't hear number signs, you don't hear comma, all this other stuff. It just explains the games. So works pretty good, and it's also, you can make your own sayings whenever you want to do that. One thing about this is your cleanup script's gonna change each time you change a video. It takes a second or two to move the file that it needs to swap out the intro video. So when you're exiting, sometimes you'll notice it takes a second longer to exit. Now when I load it up, it's gonna have a different intro video.
Speech synthesizer online.
So here's the default one, and I could skip it at any time.
Shutting down Hyperspin.
Now it's moving the file. So I go into Hyperspin, and now it'll be another different video.
Voice module activated.
I did all videos that are less than 30 seconds long. So here's the video that it plays. Now in order to randomize this, oh, I gotta change this, that's why it... If you have more than one video in here, it'll go through in order, not randomized. What I did is I randomized it, and all these intros, you could just drop as many files as you want in here. I recommend doing less than 2-minute videos, because the longer they are, they're going to be moved in and out, so it's going to take longer to exit to copy those over. But right now I've got a good start of 13 different 30-second intro videos. They're all high def, they work pretty well.
Thanks for playing. Goodbye.
And we'll do that one more time so that we can hear the voice a little bit more after this video.
Synthesizer online.
Alright, so here's a new random video. Pretty cool. Let's go to NES.
Main wheel. Nintendo Entertainment System is an excellent choice. Nightshade. Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden 2. The Dark Sword of Chaos. Nintendo World Cup.
So as you can hear, it reads them, and then it'll also read some of the bio of some of the games too.
Nobunaga's Ambition. Now,
when you launch a game, which it's going to go too slow because I'm having trouble with this recording video, it'll also say, hey, you're starting this game, and then when you exit, it'll say random funny stuff. So one of the other things you can do is in Hyperspeech folder, they have this folder, Hyperspeech INI. These are all the sayings right here. Hyperspin start, and then these are the 4 random things it says. Hyperspin end, here's the 4 random things it said. And what you can do is you could comment out any of these if you have better ideas. But what I'm going to do now is when I start, this is the only option. These are commented out, so it's not going to see these. It's only going to have one choice. Oh, 2 actually. Now it's 1. So now it's going to say this shit is cool when I load up. You could change this at any time, and you can make it random, or you can make it just one item by removing anything else.
All right.
So, oh, you know what? This is on the update, so it didn't actually read it. It's because that's on my update, not on my drive. So I'll show you here. Here we go. So I'm going to comment these out, and I'll do one that has a curse word in it, so you can see why you might want to enable or disable some of these. So it's going to say, "Aw shit, let's get started."
Aw shit, let's get started.
Sounds goofy, but it works.
Voice module deactivated.
Alright, so that's the other part of the update, and then I believe I showed you guys everything on there, but again, everything is backed up, fully tested, never has any issues, so you can feel comfortable doing these toggles to switch stuff on and off if you'd like. It works really well. Hyperspeech is really enjoyable, and you can turn it on with one click, turn it off with one click. The intro video thing, if you don't like those videos anymore, you click no, it's off, done. You want to put them back on there, you click yes. Do you want it randomized? No, I want the same thing every time. Now it'll only be whichever video you prefer every time. It's as easy as that. So I'm going to click no. Hyperspeech, same thing. You can click yes to enable it, no to disable it, or if you're not sure what you're doing, you just hit cancel. Boom, it's off. That's pretty much everything that I updated. I'm thinking I'm forgetting something, but hopefully that makes sense, and I hope you guys enjoy it, and go from there.